Hi, welcome to Animation Recap Center. Today, we are going to explain a German-British computer animated comedy horror film called Monster Family 2. So, without any further ado, let's start with the recap. The continuation of the animation opens a year after the previous events at the castle of Count Dracula. A girl, whose name is Mila Starr, an expert monster hunter, breaks into the castle and unfreezes the body of Dracula, who has been trapped inside the building. Her mission was to hunt down Dracula. After being unfrozen, Dracula tries to fight the young girl, but she skillfully overpowers him and captures him. With the monster conquered and captured, Mila places a call to her parents, Maddox Starr and Marlene Starr, who then instruct her to capture Baba Yaga next. On the other side, at the home of the Wishbones, it is Max's third day being confined in his room. He has been practicing to perfect his skills with the magical amulet, and now tries to perform experiments with it. However, none of the experiments turned out well. Instead, they result in chaos. After being tired of trying, Max decides to take a rest but gets an alert from his school's group chat. Someone had hacked into his account and posted an embarrassing video of him dancing with dogs at school. Max's sister Faye burst into his room having seen the video and complains about him always embarrassing her at school. Outside the house, their parents wait patiently for them as they have a wedding to attend. This is the wedding of the witch, Baba Yaga, and the hunchbacked butler Renfield. As it stands, either Max nor Faye is ready, so they continue waiting until Faye comes out first. Max, on the other hand, struggles to fit into his pants as he has outgrown them. He violently moves around his room in a bid to force himself into the trousers, but his efforts turn out to be futile, so he finally decides to use Baba Yaga's magical amulet, and it transforms him into wearing a cool outfit. Max steps out of the house looking different and better than before, and his family is amazed to see his transformation. He gets into the car, and they finally drive off for the wedding. Mr. Frank Wishbone, who is Max and Faye's father, drives recklessly as they were already late for the wedding. Along the way, the Wishbone family discusses their several shortcomings. Mr. and Mrs. Wishbone find out that Faye intends to drop out of school because she thinks she's not talented like her friend. Their mother, Emma, tries to help them, but her advice is ignored at best and seems to constantly irritate them. After a very bumpy drive, the family finally arrives at the church where the wedding ceremony is being held. At the entrance of the church, the magic on Max's clothes wears off and the buttons of his trousers fall out, exposing his round bell. Unfortunately for him, some of his class girls were around to witness this, and they also snap and post a picture of him looking that way. Inside the church, the Wishbone family are the only ones in attendance, and Emma and Frank stand as witnesses for the exchange of oaths. Before the oaths exchanged, the wedding is interrupted by Mila, the girl who had captured Count Dracula. This time, she has come to capture Baba Yaga, because that's what she's been ordered to do. The Wishbone family do all that is within their power to stop Mila from taking the witch, but it all proves futile, as she is smarter and more skilled than them all. She finally captures Baba Yaga and Renfield in her jet, and prepares to fly off. Renfield was a hunchback in Baba Yaga's finance, but Max holds tight to her and they are both flown outside the church into the city. Max's parents call out to him, telling him to let Mila go, but he refuses to listen as he is intent on rescuing Baba Yaga and Renfield. Mila and Max fly across the busy road, and after a while, Max finally falls to the ground and Mila goes away. He begins his walk back to the church, wearing his underpants, as he angrily faults himself for losing his friends. Although his parents tried to convince him that it wasn't his fault, Max is still hurt over losing to Mila. He then decides that he would turn into a werewolf like before. That way, he would be able to stand a chance against the girl. Knowing how it was the last time, his family tries to stop him, but he casts the spell and they all turn into monsters. Max, a werewolf, Faye, a mummy, their mom and dad a vampire, and Frankenstein respectively. Mila, on the other hand, finally arrives at her parents' station where he hands Baba Yaga over, as her parents are a billionaire scientific genius and philanthropist. Their mission is to make the world a better place to their inventions. As soon as Milo arrives, she is sent back out to capture Nessie, a long-necked underwater creature, and Yeti, a monster of the Himalayas. At the city, it dawns sadly on Wishbones that the curse worked on them again because they are unhappy. So, they decide to take advantage of their horrific state to get back Baba Yaga and Renfield, using the magical amulet. They track Mila's location and discover that she is headed towards Scotland. They tried to teleport to Scotland using Baba Yaga's spell, which Max learned, but it doesn't work effectively, but brings them back to the church. So Frankenstein, their dad, uses gestures to suggest that they use Count Dracula's bat jet, which they took from him the last time. On their way, Emma becomes hungry for blood, so Frank holds her from doing any harm to the kids. They arrive at the barn where they hid the bat jet, and Faye hypnotizes the neighbor, so he won't be able to report to the police. They get into the jet and their mother gets more violent and begins attacking Faye. So, Max finds some plasma pills kept in the jet's food stash and feeds them to her, after which she regains herself and apologizes to her daughter. They then find a way to turn on the jet, which is navigated through autopilot, with Dracula's hologram calling out instructions. They finally arrive in Scotland, where they get into a duel with Mila, who overpowers all of them despite their supernatural powers. She goes into the water to find the creature which she was sent to capture, and Max goes after her. Using instructions from her parents and the directions of her drone, she finally finds Nessie camouflaging inside the water. As she is about to shrink the giant creature with her radar, Max appears and tries to stop her from doing it. However, she fights off Max and captures the creature, after which she proceeds to head out of the water. She stops to help Max, who has fallen unconscious and is drowning. After Max regains his consciousness, he inquires to know more about Mila. She reveals her identity, and he finds out that she is the daughter of his tech role models, Marlene and Maddox Starr. He tries to explain to her that her act of capturing creatures isn't right, but she doesn't listen and flies away. Max goes to find his family to gather them to chase after Mila. They all get into the jet and follow Mila's trail closely until they finally arrive at the Himalayas. They get off the jet to look for her. While searching, they come across a Yeti which is violent towards them. It seems terrible. Fortunately, Frank and the Yeti take an immediate liking to themselves and begin dancing and playing on the snowy ground. After a few moments, everyone realizes that the creature is friendly. Their fun is cut short by the appearance of Mila, who shrinks the creature with her radar and captures it. As she heads out, Faye angrily begins spinning toward her to fight her, not knowing that she is causing an avalanche. Max stops his sister, but it is already late as an avalanche rocks the area where they are. After the avalanche clears up, Max begins to search for Mila, with the fear that she might have been hurt by the avalanche. He finally finds her hanging on a cliff, and tries to pull her up using a rope from her backpack, knowing that Max would not be able to pull Mila up alone. The rest of his family joins him, and they successfully bring her up. She expresses her gratitude, and Max inquires about what her parents are using the creatures for, but she has no definite answer. Mila's job is to gather the creatures for her parents and has no idea about her parents' plan. She only believes that it is for the betterment of the planet. Max tries to convince her that her parents are up to no good and tells her to ask them about their plans for the creatures. Mila returns to her parents' station with the Yeti, and refuses to go on another mission if they do not tell her what they are using the creatures for. This demand from her brings shock to Marlene and Maddox, who have never gotten any resistance from Mila before. Regardless, they reluctantly take her to a lab far up in the atmosphere, where the creatures are confined in a pod. They reveal to Mila that they intend to use the creatures, who have lived on Earth for thousands of years, to create a world where humans live forever. However, they hide the fact that the creatures are going to die for them to achieve this. Mila, now happy after hearing this, heads out to look for the final creature needed for the invention. At the Batjet, Emma and Faye find out that Max has developed feelings for Mila as he keeps seeing her anytime he uses the magical amulet. Anyway, they track her to the twin peak of the legendary island of Tora Tora, where they encounter King Konga, a legendary gorilla. They are all scared at first, but thanks to Faye, they understand that it means no harm and they all have fun. Max convinces Mila to join in the fun and they all party until dusk. Emma commends Faye for her ability to understand the gorilla, thus giving her an idea of being a veterinary or any animal-related career in the future. After concluding, she decides not to drop out of school anymore. Max and Mila sit away from the rest, engaged in a deep conversation. Mila reveals that she has never had fun with her parents, and the only thing they've ever done with her is educate her. Max finds this weird and tells her that she can always have fun with him. Bothered that Mila has been away for hours, which is unlike her, Marlene and Maddox spy on her and see her with Max. They are terrified to see this, and Marlene begins hoping that he hasn't put any unusual ideas into her head. Maddox calms his wife and comes up with a solution to bring Mila back as soon as possible. He places a call to her with a lie that her mother has fallen terribly ill, and that the only way to save her is through the machine. Maddox instructs her to capture the apes, so that the machine can begin working to save Marlene. On hearing this, Mila anxiously captures the gorilla and heads swiftly back home with it. On arriving at the star station, she meets just her father, who instructs her to place the ape in the only empty pod, which she does. The machine is powered and Mila watches as surges of current flow from the creature's pod into a bigger one in the middle. It is later turned off, and Mila doesn't believe what she sees inside the bigger pod. Instead of Marlene, she sees a girl who looks exactly like her. Her mother, whom she thought was critically ill, appears from behind her, and they both revealed the most shocking news to Mila. According to them, they lied about making humans live forever as they found out that it was impossible years ago. So, they decided to gather the creatures to create a perfect robot and put life in it, just like a human being. Marlene and Maddox revealed that Mila isn't their child, but an orphan whom they picked for her narrow capacity. And as she wasn't performing enough to their satisfaction, they created a robot and turned it into a human through the power of the creatures. Mila is devastated to hear this news and runs away while her parents instruct the new Mila to go after her. Back in the forest, Max is disappointed that Mila betrayed his trust and tries to find her, but it's difficult this time. After many unsuccessful trials, they decide to use the teleportation mode to find her. This time, it worked as they are teleported directly into the lift where Mila sits crying. She apologizes and narrates everything she had just been told by the stars. Max believes her and forgives her, while Faye finds her brother's feelings annoying. Mila 2.0 meets up with them in the lift, and a fight kicks off between Mila and her clone. Mila tries to use the shrinking radar on her, but she kicks it away and it falls. As they continue fighting, the clone takes off Mila's jetpack and she begins falling fast toward the ground. Max jumps out to save her and uses the magical amulet to teleport to different parts of the station. He later concentrates and they both teleport back to the lift, where his family is waiting for him. Max is reunited with his family, and the curse gradually begins to break but stops because he is unhappy that Mila will be homeless. The clone soon joins them at the lift and after a little tussle, she bundles them to Marlene and Maddox. On arriving at the lab, the curse breaks and the wishbones gradually turn back into their human form. Now useless to them, Mila's parents orders the clone to dispose of them. It is at this point that Baba Yaga's bats arrive with Mila's shrink radar, which Max collects from them and shrinks Maddox. The clone begins fighting with Max, while his family releases the creatures, Baba Yaga and Renfield, from their confinement. Marlene and Maddox escape from the lab amidst the chaos with their chopper, while the two Milas get into a fight again. Max successfully shrinks the right Mila and they prepare to leave. Dracula tries to stop them to exert his revenge, but he is shrunk. The lab begins collapsing, so everyone begins to leave except Max, who waits for Mila, who tries to rescue her clone. The clone is rescued and they all fly outside with Mila's jetpack. But Mila 2.0 turns on her and resumes fighting her. She gets thrown away, and Mila and Max navigate their way back to land where the family is. They all return to the church where Baba Yaga and Renfield complete their wedding. Dracula, on the other hand, is kept in a box where his shrunk self continues hoping for revenge. This is where the movie ends. So, what do you think about this movie? Leave it in the comments section. And don't forget to follow this channel